In the Takeoff, you can change materials as you go along by going to Material, Current Material Setup, and changing whatever components you need to change. Size ranges. In this case, we have two size ranges, 1/8 to 2 and over 2, up to 24. And for each of these size ranges, you can change the standard length, the pipe material, any extras generated, fitting material, fitting options, and connections. The fitting options include what coupling to generate, unions to generate, dielectric unions to generate, nipples, branch connections, flanges, 2 different flanges, and gaskets. For each size range, you can also set up hangers. You could have a separate hanger set up for each size range. You can also set up risers. You can have a different riser set up for each size range. Valves have their own size ranges. You can set up as many size ranges as you need. Like here for over 2 inch, we have butterfly valves. And for under 2 inch, they're not needed. You can set up insulation by size range as well. Insulation has its own size ranges. So you can set up as many as you need. Say we need insulation up to 2 inch. And you could select your thickness. Assemblies can be specified in the material setup, and only those materials will be available in the Takeoff if you select them here. But you have to have the general preference checked, assemblies by material setup. So whatever changes you make will reflect then in any takeoffs you make after that point. You can also select a default material setup by going to Default Material Setups, going to the system type you want, and selecting the material setup. You can set up any number of material setups for each system type. So now we're in copper. You can change the previous material of lines you've already taken off by just highlighting the lines. In this case, let's change the copper to black steel. Go to Material, change Previous Material. We'll say it's still hot water, and we'll say black threaded and butt weld. Now all of our copper has just turned it into welded, and the material note reflects accordingly. You can turn the current material setup into a default by going to Material, Make Current Material Setup into Default. It'll ask you where you want to put it, and you can name it whatever you want. We'll call this Sample. Now if you go to Default Material Setups, you'll see under hot water there's a Sample material setup. So now we're in a copper material setup, and we have some copper items. Say we want to go back to threaded and welded. We can just go back to any takeoff line that had our old material setup, and we can go to Material, Load Previous Material Setup. Now we're back in welded, and if we take off our items, now they're welded. You can also change just your current system type by clicking on Current System Type and just changing it by saying, well, you want this to be chill water instead of hot water. Now the same material setup exists, but it's now a chilled water instead of a hot water. You can change a previous system type by highlighting the lines. Like say, let's take these chill water lines right here from lines 72 to 76. And we'll go to Material, Change Previous System Type, and let's switch it back to hot water. Now those lines 73 to 76 are hot water, just like the lines above them. You can also find a system type. Since we're in chill water now, let's look for a hot water heating system type. It brought us to line 76, which was part of a hot water heating system, and it avoided our chill water system.